I
Okay.
met this girl. We started dating our senior year in high school, and we ended up dating for about like a year and a half. And that was like my first like real girlfriend, right? And her family loved me and all that, so I spent a lot of time, with her and her family. And they started taking me to church, and I grew up in a Asian household where we didn't go to church or Christ. We didn't go to Christianity or Christian church, and basically, I started going to church with them, and I enjoyed it. I ended up joining this internship at a church, a 2 year internship, and the catch was you couldn't be in a romantic relationship
Oh.
unless you were married, right? And
Mm.
so
Wow. I
at the
getcha.
yeah, I know exactly. And it got to the so when I decided to join that, we had already been dating for like a year and a half, and so I had to cut it off cold turkey, and we had to make the agreement that when my first year end, we would start to resume dating again, because you could date in the second year. Um,
Mm.
and so the first year, I had like, this is kind of like beside the point, but I had like three different dreams of her being pregnant, right?
Well.
And so fast forward to the end of my first year, I go and talk to her, and I find out that she's actually pregnant. And we had never saw each other in between like my first year, because
Oh
I was
no.
I was very focused, like, on my internship, and
Of
kind of
course.
trying to do it the
Chasing after
best.
a baby. Yeah.
Exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
But prior to that, I knew she was seeing another guy, and so I just kind of made put two and two together, and yeah, and she broke the news to me and started crying and stuff. Um, but it kind of was very similar to your story, where that was my kind of my first real girlfriend, and
Yeah,
I didn't
man.
have a ton
Yeah.
of experience, and that kind of, you know, it it changed my perception on like just trust. You know what I mean? Like
Sure, sure.
I can't, the
Yeah.
saying, you can't trust these hoes. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah, it's hard to trust. It's hard to trust someone after it's like you can feel it so much like that.
mhm,
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it really
mhm.
hurts you. You know?
Yeah, and it was definitely the kind of the wild part about that is like I wasn't as devastated, because I felt like those dreams kind of prepared me for that moment. But I started talking to another girl during my second year, kind of a year later, and and this is the red flag I should have been more aware of. But she had just broken up with another dude and she was in a long term relationship with, and we started talking and whatnot, and I was like, oh, this is the one, like she's the one, you know what I mean? And because people have to understand, like when you come, I don't know if it's like this for all Christians, but like they're very big on marriage in the Christian community and culture, and so
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah. Of course, I know that. Yeah.
and so I thought this girl was the one, even
Yeah, yeah.
though knowing that she had just broken up with this other guy who she was with for a long time. And we were only talking for a little bit. And, we fooled around a little bit, and she ended up like cutting me off cold turkey, and she
Oh.
she ended up getting back with the other dude. But we were only talking for like a few months. It was like a summer fling kind of thing, and that for
Mhm.
some reason just crushed me. Um, but yeah, that's kind of like my story. I just wanted to give you some background on that. But yeah, that's
Nice, bro. Nice. I mean, that's a great story too. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, here's the thing, right? Like, those are crazy stories that we both lived, but in the end they end up being for great stories that you can always tell. So
yeah.
that's why I always tell guys, like, no matter how bad your life is, like, or if you've done this, or if you even want to try to go and talk to a girl and you get like something happens, or any type of risk, it's not that big
Hmm.
of a deal. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And like a lot of guys are not. That's I would say that's one of the biggest things guys don't want to do is take that risk. You know,
Hmm.
because at the end of the day, if it doesn't go well, you can always tell a story about it, and that's
Yeah,
beautiful. You know,
that's
and
true.
storytelling is great. You know, like just like what you said, I can relate to you more. I'm sure you can relate to me a little bit more with like the story that I said too, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's thanks for sharing your story, bro. I think a
Yeah,
lot of
bro. Of
guys can
course.
relate to that. I think that's
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
maybe not a super similar experience to everybody, but I
Yeah.
think every dude that's gone through getting their heart broken, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, or getting played, you know what I mean.
That
Um,
right there. I would say that was the best thing that could have happened to me. There was a point in my life where I was like, man, like why is this happening to me? And then after a couple of years of like being more mature and realizing, be like, I'm so glad that happened. So that's why I would say every curse is a blessing in disguise.
mm-hmm,
Destruction is also creation,
mm-hmm. That's good,
right?
man.
And that's how I really think. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true. You could turn your mess into a message.
Yeah.
And you could keep going on and about kind of those little sayings that are cliche, but they're actually true.
Hmm.
But after hearing your story, I'm curious to know, how did you recover from that? Did you just strictly, because the common thing is like you kind of see it all over TikTok and just social media in general. Like when you get your heart broken, you hear you could go to comments of a video of a guy who's working on himself, and you'll see "Keep your head up, King," or you'll see stuff like that. And the common thing is, I think when dudes get their heart broken or they get played, it's to kind of take that energy and put it back into themselves and start focusing on getting their body right, and just focusing on their purpose and their mission. um,
Hmm.
for myself, I'll use myself as an example. That's
Sure,
kind
of
of what
course.
I did. Not
Yeah.
immediately. It took me a while to kind of like just focus back on myself and get over that heartbreak. But
Hmm.
was that something common for you? Like, is it a common thing where dudes get their heart broken is to dive straight into self development?
Yeah, I mean, I think for every guy's going through a different thing in their life. They have their own journey. Not, no one can be that person, but if you get your heart broken, if it's the first time, like of course it's gonna sting, right? But what you have to do is you need to just delete all forms of contact with the person that you're with, so that it at least while you're having that time that you're like thinking about what you're gonna do, you're not at least thinking of her. You have her on your, the last messages. Every time you go to messages, you see her. You see her on WhatsApp. You're seeing her Instagram stories. You have all her numbers and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, at some point if you get drunk or whatever, or like you're like get all like weirded out, you're gonna get too needy. You're gonna try to call her and things like that, and like
Mm-hmm.
it's not good to do that, especially if like the girl cheated on you. This is where a lot of guys, they need to understand their self worth, right? What is a
Mm-hmm.
woman's greatest weakness? A man who knows his own self worth.
Mm. Go on.
Okay, so like if a guy knows a little bit about like who he really is, he's gonna accept her like that. Like that happened, yeah, it stings, man. Fuck, she cheated with you, whatever. But don't take her back. She's gonna do it
Mm-hmm.
again. Just
Mm-hmm.
leave her alone. Delete all the stuff from her. Don't. It's not. You don't have to hate her, but just delete all the things, and then from there, that's the first thing you need to do. Second
Mm-hmm.
thing is like you need to focus on your fitness and get in the best shape of your life. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it's not just because of like her what she did to you, but because that's the biggest thing that you need to for everything in life. In order to be alpha, the first way is to do it through the physical,
Mm-hmm.
right? You do it through there, and you're building through through the struggle every day, grinding, working out, having a plan. If you don't know how to have a plan, there's a lot of coaches out there who coach this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
or just get your local trainer, try out, a couple of things. There's always a way to learn, and start going to the gym and start eating healthier and getting in the best shape of your life, and start working on your hygiene, start working on your style, look better, look the part, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? And start reading books. Every day you should be reading a book. And
Mm-hmm.
like you should try to do like, if you do it right, you can read a couple books, like two books a month, if they're not so big books. You know what I mean? Like you
Mm-hmm.
can take a like 160, 200 page book. You can divide it by 7 days or 14 days. That's 1 week or 2 weeks, and you just read that many pages every day. And that should be a goal for 3 months, right? First, do it for just a month, and then to develop that 23, 27 days for it to habit, and for it to be able to habit, and then keep going. Because reading books is something that I've always done. That was the first time I've ever picked a book, was when I was actually devastated with my with the woman.
Mm-hmm.
I was so devastated. I didn't know what to do. My mind was just going crazy, and that was the first book that I picked up As a Men Thinketh by James Allen. It's still my favorite book.
Mm,
I don't know how the hell I found that book,
yeah.
but that's a book all about the mind. You know, start feeding yourself this stuff every day, right? Whether it's reading, whether it's audible, whether it's podcast, whether it's motivational speakers, Les Brown, Jim Rohn,
Hmm.
Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins, all the greatest guys. Les Brown, if I didn't say him again, but all those guys, start listening to that, and then that's who, you start molding yourself every day, and
Hmm.
like, you know what I mean? Like Zig Ziglar said that like motivation is like showering. Like if you like don't shower for a couple of days, you're gonna smell, right? Same thing with motivation. You have to shower daily.
Hmm.
So that's
Absolutely.
that's what you got to do.
I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah, it's definitely uh, something that I did. Podcast is, you know, huge. Like that's how I consume a lot of my self development content.
Boom.
And one thing like you can do as well to add on what you just said is start curating your social media feed of people that you aspire to be like or that
Mm,
inspire you or that can teach you something. Follow Pete. That's what I did. You know what I mean? And
sure,
I would
sure.
see Pete all over my TikTok and my Instagram. And
Yeah.
so, that's one thing you can start doing as well. Just start curating your feed. And then, you start to, soon enough, you'll start thinking in a more positive way.